Welcome all to the weekly outlook. Bern here from EWPRO. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already to help out the channel. If you want these free weekly outlooks to continue, it doesn't cost you anything to hit the like button. So getting on to the weekly outlook, starting with the DXY, we're looking at this internal wave in here. Like I've been mentioning for some time, we get a WXY, X2, we got the Z up, it nearly hit that first target, and now we've got a sharp impulse down. So we got the 5 up. It's still possible to get some more upside. Just see if we got bull hidden here. It looks like we do have a possible bull hidden here between this low and this low. We have a lower low on the MACD. So the only way you can really trade this now, since we have that bearish divergence on the daily with that Z up, we either get a correction in here for more downside, or we get an impulse up and you get some sort of a buy setup to take that bull hidden. The bull hidden isn't valid to trade. That's the problem at this stage. On the H1, we don't have any bearish divergence. Bullish divergence, sorry. Last week, we were looking at that WXY, X2 and a Z up. We never got that Z up. Instead, we got this fell over. So there still is that possible bull hidden on the H4, but again, it's not valid to trade. You really have to wait for a correction or something to buy, a correction to sell or a flag to buy. Yeah, there's not really much you can do with the current price action. AU on the daily. I've lost my charts. Here we go. So on the daily, on the AU, we're looking at that WXY, X2, Z down. We lost the bullish divergence, like I mentioned. So we're just looking for a correction in here to go and break the low. It's broken the low now, and now we have that bullish divergence. So on the H4, nothing's really changed since last week. We're looking for that Z down with the possible bear hidden for a WXY, X2 and a Z down. That is still, this is valid to trade. So if you do get any flag or little correction in here, you can look to sell just to break that low. And then you'll be looking for upside. On the H1, we got a higher high and we got the bearish divergence. Now we've got a lower low. So if you get any correction in here on the lower time frames, look for the sell. You can really only buy above that top. If that top gets broken, well, then you can look for a buy, but at this stage it's a sell. If you get the setup, that is. EU on the daily, very similar to DXY. We're looking at WXY, X2. We got the Z down. We have the bullish divergence. And now I believe we have a higher high here with a nice impulse up. Excuse me. So I'll be looking for this week a correction. If we get some sort of a correction, ideally down to the 50 fib, it doesn't have to get down to the 50 fib, but if we get a nice correction, look for that buy. Whatever happens in here, and this wave here may not be over yet. This A wave or W or wave 1 may not be over yet. So wherever this is over, we'll be looking for that 50 fib retrace. I go over this in my group. One of the strategies, it's one of the safest trades that we can trade If you want to learn more about the strategies, well, by all means, join the group. But we'll be looking for a correction and then more upside. GU on the daily. So this one's becoming quite tricky. We got that WXY. We lost the bullish divergence. So I was looking for all this to be a correction for another one down. We do have that possible bear hidden in play. Again, that bear hidden isn't valid to trade. So it's making it quite difficult. On the H4, we rolled out we're looking at that WXY. We're looking for an X2 and a Z up. We rolled it out because this was way too large, larger than this correction here. So we rolled it out last week, well, a couple of weeks ago. And then we're looking at an A, a B, and a C. Just a simple A, B, C. So all we have now is just an impulse and an impulse. So we need to see some sort of a correction, like an A, B, C in the B wave. Then you can draw your trend line, any sell setup that you get. Well, then you can look for the A, B, C. So at this stage, there's really not much you can really do on the higher time frames. It's more scalping, because when we look at the H1, this is just one wave. If we go down on the lower time frames, we'll have a bearish divergence there and a lower low. So again, you can only really look for the sell on the lower time frames, just scalping for an A, B, C, before you get another A, B, C, to finish off that B wave on the H4. So yeah, you're really only scalping at this stage. You're in a big correction. And you on the daily. So we're looking at that WXY. We don't have any bullish divergence. Again, there's so many different scenarios here, like I've been mentioning in my weekly outlooks for a long time now. We can look at it as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 as a complex correction. And then we get an A, B, C before we get an A, B, C. So this may be a 333 correction in here completed. Now, when we're up here, we're saying it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or just a 3, either 333 or 335 pattern. So it looks like it still hasn't broken this trend line. We really need to see a trend line break of some sort and a buy setup. We don't have any bullish divergence on the H4 either. Really waiting for this B wave. There's really nothing on the H4 to look at. H1, we do have a bearish divergence and a lower low. We had the bearish divergence as well. So really, there's two scenarios. This can be a flat in here for an A, B, C, or this is all the correction and we get a correction in here for an A, B, C. So we really need to watch price action to see what we get. If we get this scenario here, a correction in here, well, you'll be looking for the sell. If you get some sort of a sharp impulse up and then a buy setup, well, then you could look for that flat for the A, B, C. So you really need to watch your price action and your structures to trade this and get a setup to get the direction. And it's pretty much the same as all of them. They're all pretty similar. They can go either way. Looking at UY, we're looking at that A, B, and a very choppy C up. We do have that bearish divergence between the last two tops. And this in here is looking quite choppy. We're looking at this as a possible A, B, C on the H4 to give us another one up. A possible another one up, or this is the top. This is looking very corrective. So I believe this is the low here. So we got 1, 2, 3 down, and then an impulse up. If we look on the H1, there's a couple of different ways again how we can look at this. And that's a problem, because we can look at this as an A, B, C for a flat in here. That did go and break the low for an A, B, C, and then we get more downside. The problem with the buy is for this wave C up, it just has to break the ending point of wave A, and it's already done that. So it's ideally it goes up here and breaks that low, gives us the bearish divergence, and then we can draw a trend line on this time frame or a lower one and wait for a sell setup to go and break the low. I'm not really interested in the buys. We're at a top, and any sort of sell setup I get, I'll be looking for the sell. Looking at the Swissy on the daily, this is very complicated as well, because there's so many different scenarios we can get. We're just looking for that A, B, C, and then we're looking for that A, B, C. We never got that. Instead, we got all this in here. It would have been nice if this was looking very corrective in here, like I've been saying. So I was like, would have liked an A, B, C up in here to finish off this B wave, or to finish off some sort of a more complex B wave, and then get that one down. It's so, this one here, wave up here, never broke the top, so we can only really look at it as a flat, some sort of a flat for an A, B, C. So we get an A, B, C in here for a flat, and then you get that A, B, C. There's a couple of problems. We're not getting the setups. That's the problem. We're not getting the trade setups, because in here again we have a possible bull hidden. So we got a WXY X2, a possible X2, and we may get a Z up in here because we have that possible bull hidden. So again, there's a couple of different ways you can trade this. Last week we were looking for that WXY X2 because we had that bull hidden, and we were looking for a Z up. That's still pretty much valid, but yeah, it's quite difficult to trade. It's very choppy. So yeah, I'm actually in the buy on this in a little trade in here, move to break even, but it's extremely risky. If you get a little buy set up, you can look for the buy. Other than that, you can really only, well, there's not much you can really do with it. You're only scalping at this stage. Looking at the CAD on the daily, so nothing's changed. We're looking at an A, whatever's happening in here is a B, and then we get a C up, because we only just broke that top of wave A in here. Now, whether you look at this as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 as a complex correction, 333, or a flat, like a flat for an A, B, C. It doesn't really matter which way you're looking at it. Still looking for a little bit more upside, but this is very difficult as well. It's not giving the structures to trade. It's extremely choppy. As you can see here, we got a nice flag in here, went up and come straight back down. Now we're getting another one, so you know, it may break the top and then give us another deep correction. It may just keep on doing this, and then before we get an A, B, C, or it goes up and breaks the top. Extremely difficult. I really would like it to go up and break the top, but this is quite choppy. It's not looking impulsive. That's the problem. So I'll be staying out of the CAD. It's just it's not giving good setups. But if you do find a good setup on it, by all means, give it a go. Looking at the GY, we're looking at on the daily WXY, X2, Z up. It went up to the first target. We had that possible bull hidden, like I've been mentioning. The bull hidden hadn't played out. We haven't broken that top. We got a very deep correction. So again, like I said last week, this can turn into complex correction, triangle. There's so many different structures that can happen in here. It's going to be difficult to trade. H4, we got that A, B, C down to the 100 fib with bullish divergence. We got a tricky A, W, X, Y. This can be an X2 and we get a Z up. We do have that bull hidden, possible bull hidden. Again, this one isn't valid to trade as bull hidden, but it doesn't mean that they don't play out. And it looks like more than likely this will go and break that top. I hope it does. So then we get that bearish divergence, and then we can draw a trend line and look for a sell. On the H1, it's extremely difficult because there is no bearish divergence, but this is extremely choppy. You know, you can see how choppy it is. So it's something that I wouldn't trade. I like to see a nice impulse, a correction, and then I can look for another one down. Whereas this, when you're trading stuff like this, is so choppy, you know, you get taken out, and you'll never make money if you're trading stuff like this. You'll never make money. Yeah. So it's something I'm really just staying out of it until it gives a decent setup. So yeah, not much more to say on it. EG, on the other hand, we may be getting a nice setup. On the daily, we're looking at that WXY, X2, very choppy Z down. We did get the Z down to the second target, that 161.8. And we do have that bullish divergence between the two lows. We lost the bullish divergence between the last two, so it does make it a little bit difficult. But like I've been saying, you know, since back here, you know, I'm only looking for the buys on this one at this stage. So this is given. We got the 5 down on the H4, a WXY, X2, Z down. Then we got the higher height. So I was just looking for a correction or a flag in here, like I've mentioned in my weekly outlooks, and then more upside. Instead, we got a very deep correction. I think it even broke that low. So we got 1, 2, 3 breaking the low. So this can be an A, B, C as an expanding flat, which makes it extremely difficult, because then we'd need a sell setup. If you get a sell setup, well, then you can look for the sell to go and break the low. I'm not really interested in sells. We're at a low. I'm more interested in buys. But if you do get a nice setup, you can look for the sell, even if it's just an A, B, C, just for a scalp. You can do that because it is valid that this is a possible flat in here. You know? But on the H1, I'm more interested in the buys. This impulse come from a low. Now, it did break the low in 3 waves. That's why we can't rule out that flat. but I'd be more interested in the buy. So if I get any sort of a correction, I'll be looking for more upside. I'd like to see a 50 fib retrace, you know, in a correction to give me more confidence that we're going to go up. But again, if this is an expanding flat, well, you need to wait for your setup, and you'll be looking for a bearish setup to sell. Gold. But yeah, EG is looking very interesting at this time. We got a nice impulse. So looking at gold on the daily, we got a WXY. We're looking at this as an X2 to start off with because we had that bear hidden. Instead, we got 3 down and it didn't break that low. So then we had to change what we were looking at. We got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we can get a possible 1, 2, 3 down for a 333 or 5 down for a 335 as a complex correction. Or there was this second scenario, like I've got it drawn here, as we get an A, B, C up, and you just don't know which scenario is going to play out. So there was 2 scenarios on this, which made it very difficult to trade. But now it looks like we're getting something. We're getting something that we can actually trade. Like I mentioned last few weeks, this is extremely choppy. You know? So I said, you know, this is looking very corrective. We got a nice trend line break here now. And we're getting a correction. So you can at least look for an A, B, C. And this can really fall over too. So if I get a sell on this, I will be looking for that sell. I don't think we had bearish divergence here. Yeah, see, between the last 2 tops, we lost that bearish divergence. Between the first top and the M, we do have bearish divergence. But so really, any sell setup I get, I'll be looking for a sell. There is another scenario that this is a flat, you know, like for some sort of a W, well, an A, B, C. I'm more interested. We've broken that trend line. This is looking corrective in here. Don't miss the sell if you get a sell opportunity on it. WTI on the daily. So we got that WXY X2 Z up, nearly hit that second target. We had that possible bull hidden because this low here was never broken. So we had that possible bull hidden. This bull hidden played out and it broke the top. We've lost that bearish divergence. I've got it as a B wave here. We don't know. You know, this is looking rather impulsive to be a B wave. I think Goldman Sachs has put $1.05 on this, or $105 on this WTI. So, you know, and we're going up. They done that about a month ago. So they put that report out. On the H4, nothing's changed since last week. We were looking at WXY. I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at that as internal, and we're still in this wave Y. So nothing's really changed. We're starting to get bearish divergence here now. So really, you need to wait for some sort of a correction down to the 38.2 in wave X2, and then look for that Z up. I'm really not interested in the buys up here. I mean, this wave Y will come to an end, and then we'll be looking for that X2 and then a Z up. So you could look for a short. You need a nice setup before you can look for the short. You know, you need a setup. There is no setup for a sell. But I'll be more interested in a sell down to that 38.2 if I get a sell setup. Here we don't have any bearish divergence, so we got 3 up. More than likely we'll get another one down. possibly giving us a bull hidden, and then we get another one up in wave Y. So, you know, really need to watch the price action and get a trade. Bitcoin. So like I said last week, we're looking at an A, B, C, bounced clean off that 100 pip. So there's no, this can, like I said last week, it can go up. There's two scenarios. It can either go up and break the top from here, or at least this high here, or we get a correction, at least up to that 50 fib. So we were looking for the buys. We don't know if this is a flat. I suspect it is, and we could possibly go up and break that top, but we don't know. We got to wait for the price action on the H1, on the daily, before we can confirm that, you know, this is the flat. On the H4, we're getting an impulse up. Well, we're getting a motive structure up. We get a WX, looking at a wave Y. Then you look for your X2, and then you look for the Z up. We're still in this. There is no bearish divergence, and we're just about at that 100 fib. I expect that more than likely we'll keep on going. But if it doesn't, you know, if it just goes to that 100 fib and then gives you a sell setup, well, you can look for that sell. Even if it's just an A, B, C and bounces off the trend line and gives you another one up, well, then you can trade, you know, the buy setup if you get a buy setup. So, you know, I'll be more interested. I think this will keep on going up because this is very impulsive. This was a reasonably large correction, which is okay. So we got a WXY. I expect more upside. So if you do get little bullish flags on the H1, yeah, on the H1, you can look for, you know, like you had here. Well, this isn't really a flag, but if you get any like little flags, you can look to scalp. Flags, you're really only scalping. Correction, you're looking for the larger moves. But yeah, if you get any buy setups on it, I'll be looking for the buys, and you sort of be targeting, you know, first targeting that 130, 126, 123.6, and then the 161.8 in that wave Y. Because this is looking so impulsive, I'll be surprised if it doesn't get to that 161.8. Looking at S&P on the daily. So we got, between the last two tops, we got the bearish divergence, and we got a nice impulse down with a lower low. So like I said last week, we can only really look for sells unless you're scalping the buy, but the buys are just scalps. Eventually we're looking for this, like I've been saying for a very long time, we're looking for a larger correction down to that 50 fib. Looking at the H4, nothing's really changed. We do have a possible bear hidden here. Now, it's not going to be a WXY, X2 and a Z down. It's not going to be a Z down because this is a larger correction, but this bear hidden still can play out and we get another lower low. So any sort of sell setup we get, you can look for it until this high here is broken, and then you can sort of start looking for the buys. If we look on the H1, I'm sort of looking for more upside. Drew this during the week. I was looking at a WX. We're still in a wave Y, X2, and then a Z down with a extended wave in here, like a WXY, XZ. In here is extended wave. That is still possible. We do have a bull hidden here. So there is still possible that we get another one up. I really would like to see this broken, so at least we get bearish divergence. I really need to see that bearish divergence before I can look for that short. So yeah, this is quite tricky. it's starting to become quite tricky. We're getting to tops, and yeah, really, even if the extended wave doesn't play out, I'd still like to just see that top broken so we get that bearish divergence, and then I can look for shorts. I'm more interested in sells because we're at a top. AU 200 on the daily. I'm looking at that WXY X2 Z up. We got a nice impulse down, lower low. So you can really only look for sells. On the H4, nothing's changed since last week. We're looking at that WXY, and we're looking for an X2 back to that 38.2. And we have that bear hidden, so we still can't rule out a Z down. So on the H1, we have a bearish divergence here now. We don't have any sell setup, but if we get a sell setup, we want to break that low, give you a sell setup. Well, then you can look for that Z down to go and break the low. Till that happens, you're really waiting for a sell setup on this. You can really only sell it. There's no buy setups. If you're looking for the buys, they're just scalps. The DAX on the daily. So we got that WXY X2 Z up to the first target. Then we're looking at A, B, C. We got the C down to that 100 fib. Again, this can give so many different structures. Right? This can be like an A, B, C as just a regular flat, and we go and break the top, like I mentioned last week. But when you look at this, we can get that impulse. On the H4, so we had that bear hidden last week. We're looking at W, some sort of X, or maybe an X up here, is Z, Y, X2 and a Z down. This is looking very extremely choppy in here. So if you do watch this pair, you would have been looking for the sell because of what's happening in here. You had that bearish divergence. Now you've got a lower low. So any sort of correction or flag you get, definitely look for that sell to go and at least break that low. The FTSE on the daily. So we got that WXY X2 Z up. We got all this bearish divergence, so extremely risky to buy. There was this possible flat here for an A, B, C, and that is still possible. But like I said last week, I believe that this wave C is already completed. So we don't know if this is going to break the top or it's completed. It can stop at any time. So, really only looking for the sells. This in here is looking extremely choppy. So we're looking at an A, B, C. Any sort of sell setup you get, we got bearish divergence now. So any sort of sell setup that you get, you may get, looking at current price action, this may be a correction for another one up. But wherever the top is, what I'd be looking for any sell setup that you get, just look for the sells to at least go and break that low. So I hope you enjoyed the weekly outlook. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.